two scenes that really hit home in terms of emotions was one was I think it was the ending of season three when or four when they're Jack meets Kate at the airport in the in the future or in the present, whatever, and they're by the airport, and he says, "I want to go back. We need to go back." Like that moment, that how you were trying all this time to get off the island, and now their life is there was a purpose there, and now life has no purpose. You're alcoholic, and now you want to go back. I mean, that is just such a I think it's such a deep scene that it really spoke volumes about how all of our lives are. Like the purpose thing is so important, even if you're in the shittiest times in life, right? Like I think purpose is just so significant to have.
The creative process is so fascinating. I've spent a lot of my life considering it. And there are different ways of being. I wanted to just mention in passing that
Sure.
one of the shows, maybe you haven't watched that one either, but many people consider it with The Sopranos as maybe one of the best shows ever made. It was The Wire, which I had a great good fortune of working on four of its five seasons. And uh, that was diametric. The creator of that, David Simon, uh, that was diametrically opposed to this. They knew from the very beginning we're going to make five seasons. The first season is going to treat this. The second season is going to treat this. Third season is going to treat this. Whether it's like how the drugs and the police trying to wiretap. Second season, how do they come in? And we're going to do the docs. And the third season it's going to be like, I forget what it was, but like the school system and how the young, the systemic whole analysis. And that, so that at the very beginning, he knew exactly where he was starting. And the show was threatened with cancellation each year because nobody was really watching it. But he kept coming in and making his case to HBO. No, you got to stay with us. It's going to be great. So there's all different ways of being creative, but television is really fascinating to me in so many ways because it's really collaborative creativity, and you get when you really are willing to ask questions and not have the answers all right away. That's when things come from a deeper place and unexpected places. And then when you put a collection of creative people together, like in a writer's room, I can just imagine how those discussions occurred that, oh, why don't we have a scene where this happens? And you bring your own experience of life, and then you say, yeah, I mean, just like you say about an alcoholic wanting to go back to that time, or, it's like, yeah, it was terrible and painful, but it also made me feel more alive than I've ever felt, or rid of my existential angst that nothing means anything, or whatever it might be. And everybody gets to kind of, what if we do this? And then people kind of, respond to it. And there's a kind of collective wisdom that can happen in the best of circumstances. So I have found that, I wrote a book, which I hope some of your viewers might, if they're interested in any of these topics. It's, directing great television. And I really talk about so many of these topics. And one of the things I do talk about too is the mystery of how creative solutions kind of come about. And that's one of the things I say is, you know, what I valued in directing series television, because it's an odd thing. It's like, unlike, say, a feature that you've developed yourself, it's like as a director, you're called upon to take responsibility for the storytelling. And you can't know everything going in. You have to be trusting of answers that will come to you as you're in the process of doing it based on so many factors, including that you don't control. There's so many things you don't control, like the mood of the actors or even the very cast themselves. They may, you haven't cast everybody, or you choose somebody and you don't, everybody's a mystery. You don't know how they're going to respond to something. And then it's your job to blend with them and not just say, okay, whatever you want to do is fine. That's bad directing, I think. A lot of people take that as being, oh, I'm being creative. I'm just letting loose. Well, no, there has to be, I believe, a guiding, someone. That's what the director's job is to assess moment to moment how the story is landing, where it's going. Is it a good choice? Is it bad direction? Is it right direction? Can we trust this intuitive thing? And then you hope your instincts are rewarded, but often they're not, and then you have to adjust to that. Um, and in series television, unlike features, so you're asked to hold the vision, to take responsibility for the telling, but you're also aware that you're serving another's vision. You're serving the vision of the showrunner, that
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean, this is a big mistake a lot of, I think, people have and some directors have, and it leads to not great television or not great episodes, is like when you think, well, I'm just going to do whatever they tell me, or I'm going to just do what I think they want. That's, when you're cut off from your own, you have to own it. You have to figure out a way. Okay, here's this person's vision. I get it. But I have to then connect it with my vision. I have to, and it's like, so I'll have a take on a story, on a script, and then I'll need to check it with the, now tell me, what's the point of view of this scene? What were the deeper levels you were working at? And then often it's an exchange. I'll say, I really respond to this side of that. I'd like to go a little further with this. What do you think? If they say no, you have to accept that. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to be invited back, if you want to connect, And so then you're faced with a situation of, how can I newly perceive this set of circumstances or this story? How can I find my way into it, given you know, and it's like the best directing is, I think, and I think the good showrunners understand this. They want the creative contributions of somebody else, because I can take it maybe in a direction they might not have thought, which actually enhances the first idea they started with. And it even goes, and then you have to also, you're passing along as well, because same thing applies when I, as a director, am working with actors. I'll have an understanding of where I think the scene needs to be, or even how it should be done. And an actor, and more often than not, I'm working with the actor to get them to make that their own and do what I want them to do. But there may be times when the actor has a very different take. Well, there's often at times when they have a different take. And I'd say more often than not, I'm working with the actor to try to get them to kind of reconceive things so that they're in the story I'm trying to tell. But sometimes they do something that, if I'm open to it, I see that's better. Oh, that's interesting. I had never thought of that. So, it's like you have to be open to the contributions of others to make, and then the result, when people are truly working together and are true to their own instincts, but also open to being affected by somebody else's, that's when you can really create something, I think, really exciting.